Hi friends, I hope you're all feeling good today. I can't wait to tell you this story. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button so you never miss a video. The streamer my boyfriend called just background noise for months has him sitting at the top of her donation leaderboard. And the total he's given her is almost exactly the amount that's gone missing from the fund we were building to move into a bigger place together. I found this out 2 nights ago and I've barely slept, and I still have to see him because he's asleep in the next room right now. So I'm typing this on the couch, trying to keep my hands busy so I don't go in there and start screaming before I've figured out what I'm actually going to do. Let me lay it out. Brennan and I have been together 3 years, living together for the last 2. In a 1-bedroom that's on my lease. I signed it before he moved in. His name's not on it. And that detail is going to matter a lot, so hang on to it. We split rent, or that was the arrangement, half and half, and we'd set up a shared moving fund because the plan was to get out of this cramped place and into a 2-bedroom this year. I was the one who opened the account. I put in the bigger chunk every month because I make a little more, and he put in his share, and it was our thing. The one grown-up couple thing we had going. The little screenshot I'd send him when it crossed a new milestone with a bunch of exclamation points, because it felt like proof we were building something. The streamer. For about 8 months, Brennan's had this evening routine where he puts on this Twitch channel. A woman who does the just chatting thing, talks to her audience, plays a little, mostly just hangs out on camera for hours. And he'd have her on every single night in the bedroom while he was on his phone or winding down. I asked him about it early on because he was giving it a lot of attention for background noise, and he told me it was nothing. She's just relaxing to have on. It's like a podcast. And he made me feel ridiculous for even asking, like I was the insecure girlfriend threatened by a woman on a screen. So I dropped it. I actually felt bad for bringing it up. That's the part that kills me now, that I apologized to him for noticing. And I want to be fair to myself here, because I wasn't just being paranoid for no reason. There were things. He started staying up later than me every night, always with her stream on. He got weird about his phone, tilting it, taking it to the bathroom, which he never used to do. And the money thing had been nagging at me for maybe a month, because I'd checked the moving fund to send him my usual excited little update and the number was lower than it should have been, noticeably lower, and when I brought it up he told me he'd had to pull some out for a car repair and he'd put it back. And I believed him because why wouldn't I? He's my partner. People have car stuff, but he never put it back. And when I mentioned it again a couple weeks later, he got irritated and said he'd handle it and I was acting like an accountant. And I let that go too, because I didn't want to be the nagging girlfriend counting pennies. So here's how it actually came apart. 2 nights ago, he fell asleep before me for once. Dead asleep. And his laptop was open on the bed, still logged into everything. Because he'd been watching her stream, and it had gone offline. And her channel page was just sitting there. I was going to close it, but the leaderboard was right there on her page. The top supporters. And his username was number 1. Not like a casual name in the list. Number 1. With a badge for however many months. And I knew it was him. Because it's the same dumb username he uses for everything. The one with his initials and the year he graduated. The one that's on his email and his gaming stuff and everything. And I sat there on the edge of the bed with him snoring behind me and I clicked into it. Because once you see your partner's name at the top of another woman's donation list, you do not just close the laptop and go to sleep. And I went into her page and there was a whole history. And I started adding it up in my head and then on the Notes app on my own phone, because I didn't trust my own math. And the total he'd given this woman over those months was almost the exact number that had gone missing from our fund. Not close. Almost to the dollar. The car repair money. The money he said he'd put back. The money I'd been sending happy little milestone texts about. It went to her, in $5 and $10 and $20 chunks, night after night, so she'd read his name out loud and say thank you. And then I found the chat history. And this is the part I can't get out of my head. Because it wasn't just donating. He talks in her chat a lot. And he's got this whole personality in there. This funny, generous, regular guy. And people know him. And at some point, I scrolled back through what I could see. He'd been talking about his living situation. About me. Except he didn't say girlfriend. He told her chat, and I'm putting this as close to his actual words as I can because they're burned into me, that he lives with an overweight maid who pays the bills because she's terrified of dying alone. That's what I am to the version of him that exists in that channel. Not his partner of 3 years. An overweight maid too scared of being alone to make him leave. He typed that to strangers, for a laugh, while I was in the next room, probably folding his laundry, because yeah, I do most of it. Which apparently in his little show makes me the maid. I'm not going to sit here and describe how that felt, because there aren't words that don't sound fake. So I'll just tell you what I did, which was nothing, that night. I closed the laptop. I put it back exactly where it was. I went and slept on the couch and told him in the morning I'd fallen asleep out there watching something. Because here's what went through my head in those hours awake. The second he knows that I know, he controls what happens next. He'll have his version ready. He'll cry or he'll turn it around on me. He'll delete things. He'll move money. He'll spin it. Right now, he thinks I'm the maid who doesn't know. And that's the only advantage I have. And I wasn't going to hand it over at 2 a.m. running on no sleep and pure rage. And then yesterday morning happened, which is honestly why I finally decided to post. Because it took the whole thing from betrayal into something almost funny. It's so shameless. I'd stopped for a coffee on my way back from the pharmacy. A nice one, like a $5 coffee, a treat. Because I'd been up all night finding out my boyfriend calls me a maid to strangers online. And he saw the cup. And he made a comment about how we're supposed to be saving for the move and I'm out here buying expensive coffee. And then, he reminded me that his half of the rent was due in a few days, like he was being responsible, like he was the disciplined one keeping us on track for our future. This man, who moved our actual moving money into a stranger's bank account $5 at a time so she'd say his name, lecturing me about a coffee, reminding Emmy about rent. And I stood in my own kitchen holding this cup and I had to physically turn around and put dishes in the sink so I wouldn't say it right there. Because it was so absurd, I almost laughed. And if I'd opened my mouth in that second, the whole thing would have come out and I wasn't ready. Because here's the thing I need you all to understand about why I'm being careful instead of just exploding. And some of you are going to think I'm cold for it. I don't just want to break up with him. Breaking up with him is easy. I could do that in a sentence. What I can't stand is the idea of him walking out of here with his version intact, telling that chat and whoever else that we just grew apart, playing the poor guy whose maid finally kicked him out. Still the funny, generous regular in his little online world. Never once having to sit in what he actually did. He took our future and gave it to a stranger for attention and then called me too pathetic and scared to ever do anything about it. He literally told hundreds of people I'm too afraid of being alone to make him leave. So no, I'm not going to prove him right by sobbing and asking him why. I need him to be wrong about me, specifically in a way he can't spin. The rent being due in a few days is actually the piece I keep circling, because it's on my lease, and his half of the rent goes to me, and I'm the one who deals with the landlord, Mr. Ricardo, who I've had a fine relationship with for years. Brennan's name is on nothing here. Not the lease, not the utilities, which are also in my name. Not the internet he watches her on every night, which yeah, I pay for. I've been sitting here half the night realizing how much of the life he lives in this apartment runs through me and only me, and how little of it is actually his. And how the story he tells online has it exactly backwards. The maid who pays the bills. Like that's the insult. When the paying the bills part is the only reason he has a warm bedroom to watch her from. I haven't confronted him yet. He still thinks the maid doesn't know. His half of the rent is due Friday, his laptop's still logged in, and the number in our moving fund is still sitting there wrong. Oh, I already hate Brennan. What kind of validation are you missing in your life that you need to quietly buy tiny moments of attention from a streamer using money meant for your actual future? And being number 1 on the leaderboard is so embarrassing. That's not romance, babe, she says thank you because the notification tells her to. The overweight maid comment would permanently change how I saw him. You cannot claim you love someone and then turn their biggest insecurity into material for strangers. He clearly thinks paying bills and doing his laundry makes it pathetic, when really it just means he's been comfortable living off a woman he doesn't even respect. And then the coffee comment. Oh my god, shut up. He's not worried about saving. He just likes monitoring ops spending while treating their joint fund like his personal attention budget. I completely understand wanting to expose him, but honestly, the most humiliating consequence is probably just making him support himself. Screenshot everything, protect the remaining money, and follow the proper process to get him out. Let his online personality pay rent. Update. Okay, so a lot happened and I have to get it down while it's fresh, because it's still happening, and the short version is I know exactly where the money went now. It's worse than I thought. And I made one move that tipped him off early and I'm still deciding if it was a mistake. First, to the people who told me to screenshot everything before doing anything else. Thank you, and yes I did. That first night I went back while he was at work and got into the laptop again and photographed the leaderboard, the donation history, the chat messages, all of it, on my own phone. Because I knew the version of Brennan I was dealing with would delete and deny the second he felt cornered. Good thing too, because he's already started denying. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So the thing that actually cracked it open wasn't the streamer, it was the money, and it was his mother. I need to introduce her properly because she matters now. Her name's Lenora, Brennan's mom. And she and I have always been on decent terms. Not super close, but she's the practical type. And here's the relevant part. A while back, before any of this, Lenora had lent Brennan a chunk of money to help with a dental thing. Real money. And she'd mentioned to me at one point, kind of offhand, that she was glad he was finally being responsible with the moving fund and building something with me, because she'd been worried about his spending for years. She'd said it like a relief, like her son was finally growing up. I filed it away at the time as just mom stuff. But after I found the leaderboard, that comment came back to me. Because if Lenora thought the moving fund was proof he'd changed, then Lenora had no idea where his money was actually going. And Lenora was someone he still owed and still answered to in a way he doesn't answer to me. So I called her. And I want to be clear, I did not call her to tattle or to build some alliance. I called her because I genuinely needed to understand the money. Because part of me still couldn't believe he'd drained our fund for a stream, and I wanted to know if maybe there was some other explanation. Some debt, something. And Lenora, once I got past the small talk and just asked her straight whether Brennan had paid her back the dental money, went quiet for a second and then said no. He keeps telling me he's broke. That every spare dollar is going into the fund for you two. And I sat there. Because that was the lie he was telling her. That he was broke. Because he was being such a good, responsible partner, pouring everything into our future. While he was telling a chat full of strangers I was an overweight maid. While the fund was actually being emptied into a stranger. 3 different Brennans. The devoted saver for his mom. The funny big spender regular for the streamer. And whatever he is to me. Which I guess is the maid who doesn't ask questions. And Lenora is not a stupid woman. And she could hear something in how I was asking. And she asked me flat out what was going on. Was the money not in the fund? And I told her. Not everything, but the shape of it. That a big chunk of our moving money was gone. That he'd told me a car repair story. And that I'd found where it actually went. I didn't even get to the maid part. And Lenora got very, very quiet. And then she said the thing that told me she was on my side without me ever asking her to be. She said so he's been crying poor to me about being such a good boyfriend. Using you as the reason he can't pay me back. While he's blowing it on some internet woman. She got there herself. And she was furious. But not at me. At him. Because she'd been patient about her own money for months, specifically because she thought it was going to a good cause. Thought she was basically investing in her son's future with me. And it turns out the reason he couldn't pay his own mother back was the same reason our fund was empty. Here's where I slipped, and I have to own it. Because that call lit something in me and I couldn't sit on it as well as I had been. And that evening, Brennan did the thing he always does. He got home and put her stream on in the bedroom, loud enough that I could hear this woman's voice through the wall. This voice he's given our future to. And something in me just would not sit through another night of it. So I went in and I asked him to turn it off. And he said why. It's just background. And I said I was tired of hearing her every single night. And he did the sigh. The you're being insecure again sigh. And told me not to start with the jealousy thing again. That she's literally just a streamer. That it's weird how threatened I get by a screen. And I asked him how much he'd donated to the screen he's not attached to. Just like that. And he stopped. And I watched him decide how to play it. I literally watched it. And he went with confused. Like donated. What are you talking about? I don't donate. And that's when I knew he was going to lie even with a leaderboard with his name at the top of it. So I said his username out loud. The initials in graduation year 1. The one that's on his email. And I said #1 supporter. And I watched him realize I'd been in the laptop. And then it was not confused anymore. Then it was how dare I go through his private stuff. That's a violation. What kind of person snoops through their partner's computer? And he flipped the whole thing so fast, suddenly I was the bad guy. I was the untrustworthy one. I was the one who did something wrong here. And he was pacing. And getting loud, and honestly the fact that he went straight to attacking me for looking instead of explaining the #1 spot, told me everything. Because an innocent man explains, a guilty one screams about privacy. And I lost it a little. I'm not going to pretend I stayed all calculated and cool. Because he stood in the bedroom I pay for, in front of the stream I pay the internet for, and called Emmy the violator, and I said out loud for the first time, you gave our moving money to her. I added it up, it's almost exactly what's missing. And he said I was insane, that the fund money went to a car repair and some bills and I was connecting things that aren't connected because I'm paranoid and jealous, that not everything is a conspiracy. And I said fine, show me. Show me the car repair. Show me one receipt. And he couldn't, obviously. And instead of admitting it, he got angrier, told me I'd clearly already decided he was guilty, so what's the point, that I always do this. Decide he's a villain and then dig for proof. And started making it about my character, my trust issues, how exhausting I am, how nothing's ever enough for me. And here's the part that actually made me go cold and stop yelling. Because up until then, I was matching him volume for volume. But then he said, trying to wound me, that maybe if I was easier to come home to, he wouldn't need to unwind with someone who's actually pleasant. Someone who's actually pleasant. And there it was, the maid thing, just without the word. The idea that I'm the drudgery he escapes and she's the reward. And I didn't scream at that one. I just looked at him and said her name. The streamers. And then I said, and you told her whole chat I'm an overweight maid too scared of dying alone to kick you out. And I watched him understand that I hadn't just seen the donations. I'd seen the chat. I'd seen what he wrote. And that's the only time in this entire thing I've seen Brennan actually not have a play ready. He went for it's not what it looks like. Chat is just joking around. Everyone talks big and dumb in chats. It didn't mean anything. He didn't mean me. And I let him tangle himself in it because there is no version of typing that sentence about the woman you live with that survives being read back to your face. And then, because he's Brennan, he pivoted right back to attack. Said I clearly wasn't going to let this go and he wasn't going to sit here and be interrogated in his own home. And I said his own home. And that was the first time I said out loud the thing I'd been holding. I said it's my home, my lease, my name. You don't have your name on a single thing in here, except the mess. And he told me to stop threatening him. And I said it wasn't a threat. And he grabbed his phone and his jacket and left to cool off, which meant he went to sit in his car. Because where's he going to go? And I could see him down there through the window on his phone. And I would bet anything he was telling somebody his crazy jealous girlfriend went through his computer. So now the situation is completely different than when I posted last. And here's where it actually stands. He knows I know about the donations and the chat. He does not know I talked to his mother. And he does not know Lenora is now sitting on her own fury about the money he owes her. And that's the piece I'm holding. Because Lenora called me back later that night, after Brennan had gone quiet and come back inside and we were pointedly not speaking. And she told me she'd already texted him asking for her dental money back. Now, this week, no more waiting. And that she hadn't told him why the sudden change because she didn't want him to know we'd talked. Which means Brennan right now is getting squeezed by his mother for money he doesn't have. At the exact moment, his half of the rent is due to me. At the exact moment, his whole living situation is on a lease with only my name. And that's the thing I keep coming back to. Why I'm not just kicking him out tonight in a screaming match and letting him play victim to that chat. Because his half of rent is due Friday. And I've realized I don't actually need to throw him out. His name is on nothing. If he doesn't pay, that's not me being crazy. That's just the arrangement failing on its own terms. In writing. In a way not even he can spin to his little audience. I talked to Mr. Ricardo today, just a normal heads-up conversation about the lease being only in my name. Nothing dramatic, just confirming where I stand. And where I stand is solid. He's back to being sweet as of this morning, offering to make dinner, saying we got heated and we should talk properly, that he loves me and doesn't want to lose me over a misunderstanding. He wants to talk properly on Thursday. Rent's due Friday. His mother wants her money this week. And I know exactly what I'm doing now. Oh, Brennan is being sweet now because the maid has access to his housing, his internet, and the money he suddenly owes everyone. Very convenient timing. He isn't scared of losing the relationship, he's scared of having to fund his own life. The funniest part to me is that he's built this online personality as some generous, charming big spender while owing money to his girlfriend and his mother. Being number one on a donation leaderboard when you can't cover your actual responsibilities is genuinely embarrassing. He basically rented a personality $5 at a time. And honestly, Op needs to stop worrying about whether he'll spin it in the chat. He will. People like Brennan always have a version where everyone else is jealous or crazy. Let him talk. His internet friends aren't paying his rent on Friday, and being called #1 supporter isn't going to give him tenant rights. Final update. His junk was on the sidewalk yesterday, and he was down there loading it into a friend's car while calling me over and over, and I let it ring every single time. And I'll tell you exactly how we got there. Because it did not happen quietly, and it did not happen the way he wanted. So, my plan. He wanted to talk properly on Thursday. Rent was due Friday. His mom wanted her dental money this week. All I had to do was stop being the thing that made his life work. Stop absorbing, stop covering, stop smoothing it over, and let his own arrangement come due on its own terms. On paper. Thursday came and he wanted the big talk. And he'd clearly spent 2 days building his version. Because he sat me down all calm and told me he'd been thinking a lot and he wanted to be honest. That the streamer thing got out of hand. That he'd been in a bad headspace. That the donations were a stupid dopamine thing like gambling almost. That he knew he'd hurt me and he wanted to fix it. Work, therapy, whatever it took. and that we shouldn't throw away 3 years over his mistake. And I let him do the whole speech, because I wanted to hear how much he was willing to admit when he thought admitting was the move. And it was smooth, it was genuinely a good speech, and if I hadn't seen the chat with my own eyes, I might have bought the bad headspace framing. But then he got to the part where he said the made comment was just him being an idiot for an audience and it had nothing to do with how he really sees me. And I asked him one question. I asked him if, in 3 days of thinking about honesty, he was going to mention that he'd been telling his mother he was broke, because he was pouring everything into our future. And that landed. Because he had no idea I'd talked to Lenora, and I watched him recalculate the entire conversation in real time. And he went from soft and sorry to careful and asked what my mom comment meant. What did I talk to his mother about? And I told him. I said, I know you owe her the dental money. I know you've been crying poor to her using ME as the reason. Telling her every dollar goes to our fund while you were funneling that exact fund to a stranger so she'd say your name on camera. And the sorry act was gone. Just gone. And now he was mad, because I'd gone to his mother that this is what I do, I build cases, I make him the villain in every room. And that's when it stopped being a talk and became the fight. And I was loud. And I don't regret 1 second of it. I told him his mother worked it out herself the second I asked whether he'd paid her back, that the reason he couldn't pay her was the same reason our fund was empty, and that maybe if he didn't lie to every single person in his life, he wouldn't have to keep track of which lie he told who. And he yelled back that it was his money too, that the fund was both of ours and he could spend his share how he wanted. And I laughed at him. Actually laughed. Because there it was, his share, when for a month it had been a car repair he was going to pay back. And now suddenly it was his share he was entitled to blow. Pick one. Either it was a repair you'd replace or it was yours to give away. It cannot be both. And the fact that it kept changing is how I know you knew it was wrong the whole time. And he pivoted, because he always pivots, to how I clearly wanted him gone. I'd already gone to his mother. I'd already gone to the landlord. Because I'd told him that part too, that I'd spoken to Mr. Ricardo. And he threw that at me like it was proof I'd been scheming. And I said behind your back, your name isn't on the lease. There is no back for you to be behind. This is my apartment and I was confirming my own situation in my own home. And he told me I couldn't just put him out on the street, that he had rights, that he'd been living here 2 years. And I said, then pay Friday. That's it. Your half, like always. Pay your half tomorrow and we'll figure the rest out. And he got quiet in that specific way. Because we both knew he didn't have it. Because it was number 1 on a leaderboard. And I said it out loud. Because I was done being gentle about the number. I said you don't have it, do you? Because you gave it to her. All of it. Your rent, your mom's money, our move. It's all sitting in some streamer's account in $5 chunks, so a woman who doesn't know you exist outside a username would read your name. And he didn't deny it that time. He just went to the thing he had left, which was to get cruel, and he said the maid line again, basically. Said at least she's nice to be around. At least she doesn't audit him and interrogate him and make him feel like garbage in his own home, and I told him it's not his home, it never was. He just lived in the home I pay for and called me a maid for paying for it. Here's what I actually did. The practical part. Because the yelling wasn't the revenge. The yelling was just the yelling. Friday came and he didn't pay. Because he couldn't. And that was the whole point. I stopped covering the gap I'd always quietly covered. His half didn't come. And because I'm the leaseholder, and he's just a guy who's been staying with me, I told him that morning, calm this time, that the arrangement was over, that he had the weekend to get his things and go, and that I'd already talked to Mr. Ricardo about it and I was within my rights. And when he called his mother that day, panicking, asking to come stay, asking for money, she told him no. She'd spent months being lied to about her own dental money, and she was done funding a son who cried poor to her face while topping a donation board. She told him he could stay a couple nights, but she wasn't giving him another dollar and he was going to pay her back like he promised. He'd burned her on his own long before I ever called, and it came due at the same time everything else did. So he had no rent, no cushion from his mom, and a lease with only my name. And all of that was his own doing. Every piece of it traceable to something he chose. He spent Friday night and Saturday trying everything. He cycled through all of it. The tearful I'll change, the angry you're destroying me over a mistake, the cold you were never going to be enough anyway. And then back to tearful. He tried to get me to agree to a break where he keeps staying while we work on it, which I finally understood was the whole game. That as long as he could keep living in my apartment for free, he had no reason to ever actually change anything. That I was the arrangement. The free room and the paid bills and the laundry and every I'll do therapy speech was just to keep the arrangement running. And I said no. And he asked where he was supposed to go, and I said that was the same question I had about our moving fund. His stuff was packed and out by Sunday. I put his things out and he collected them off the sidewalk with a buddy and a borrowed car. And he called me the entire time, back to back, and left voicemails swinging between begging and telling me I was a cruel person who'd throw away 3 years. And I didn't pick up, because there was nothing left to say that we hadn't already screamed. The last one he left, he said he hoped I was happy, that I'd gotten what I wanted. And what I wanted, for the record, was a 2-bedroom with the person I was building a life with. What I got was my own 1-bedroom back and a fund I'm rebuilding by myself, which is slower, but every dollar in it is actually there. He's at Lenora's for now, owing her money. She still texts me sometimes, mostly to ask if I've heard from him about paying her back. He's not number 1 on the leaderboard anymore, because he can't afford to be. Because it turns out the maid was the whole economy. My name is still the only name on my lease. His half of the rent is my problem now, alone. And I'd rather carry it alone than carry him. Honestly, the wildest part is that Brennan seemed genuinely convinced Op would never kick him out. Like, calling her an overweight maid wasn't even risky in his mind because he thought she was too insecure to do anything about it. Personally, I could never come back from knowing my boyfriend saw my love as proof that I was pathetic. And I don't buy the dopamine explanation at all. Maybe the donations were addictive, sure. But an addiction didn't make him humiliate Op for laughs or lecture her over a coffee. He enjoyed feeling important online, and making her sound desperate helped him pretend he wasn't the one completely dependent on her. That's the part that bothers me most. I also love that Op didn't need some elaborate revenge. She just stopped making his life affordable. The whole fake generous guy personality disappeared the second he had to pay for his own room and internet. Slightly embarrassing that your biggest enemy was Friday's rent, but okay. Oh, anyway, that's the story. Love you guys. See you in the next one.